although I do believe that Doreen would have reminded me. And everybody is on mute. So thank you for joining me here today. If you're live in the room or if you're watching the replay, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me and listen to what I have to say. As I mentioned at the beginning, when a few people started to arrive, this was an idea that I came up with this afternoon. I just went, wow, this is a great idea. I'm going to do it. So it's not the most planned or prepared. It's just a combination of my knowledge put into a presentation for you today, because I think it will be useful at this moment in time. And then we'll finish with a short hypnosis to allow us to move forwards, free from any of those negative feelings around food in particular, but any areas of not feeling good enough, perfectionism, self-doubt. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody from Ron. Thank you, Ron. And so, right, let's screen share so I can do my presentation. Right, let's see if I can make this work. So here we go. And if you've got any questions, please do feel free to ask them. Feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. So if I move you out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. I named it Indulging. Oh, there we go. Someone else is joining us. Always happens. But she's joined just in time. Let's see. Can I welcome her in? And then I will continue. Hey, Margarita. I think you're there. I've just begun, so thank you for joining us.
Hi.
And I hope you can see the screen okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So I've called it Indulging Without Overindulgence. So with regards to eating, we often focus on how it will affect our body, especially with regards to our weight and overconsumption, things like that. And so I thought I'd call it Eating for Enjoyment, Energy and Health without blame, guilt or shame. And I just wanted to ask you just to think for a moment before I move on to the next slide, why you eat. So ask yourself that question now and feel free to pop it in the chat box below. What is food? What does food provide for you? And what is your priority to get out of the meals, the foods that you eat on a daily basis, weekly basis, however often, because it varies as well, depending on the occasion. So just take a moment to think, why do you eat? And then, because enjoyment and energy, we can enjoy the food that we eat and the energy that it provides us with. They're quite simple principles, I guess. I think we all can imagine what enjoyment feels like. We have all enjoyed food, I hope. If you haven't enjoyed food, please feel free to contact me and I will help you find ways of enjoying food. And energy for exercise, for life, it's fundamental, but health. So what does health mean to you too? It's another important question. So my next slide is on health, because there isn't one answer to what health is. It is multifaceted. So when I say I empower wholehearted health, this is something that I am working upon. I still don't have a definite answer as to exactly what it looks like. And I have been reading what other people have written. And these are the main points. Some people say there's 6, some people say there's 8. And this is my brief summary of what health is. So the physical health, and also how it relates to eating. The physical health is the one that we think of when we think about eating to lose weight or eating which causes weight gain, depending on our goals, the diseases that we wish to prevent, all of that kind of thing that are associated around physical health, also including our physical activity, our sleep, our hygiene. It's not just the food that we eat, but with regards to the food that we eat, what we physically take in and what we physically burn generally is quite easy to monitor compared to the rest. The mental and emotional health. So this would include enjoyment and reasons why we eat, because obviously we're not just a physical being. We have all of the thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations that we experience, whatever that may be, it connects neurologically. And emotional eating is both, like enjoyment, for instance, is a positive thing to experience, but it's also, it has very detrimental effects in terms of it can lead to disorders and undesirable effects, I guess. And then social, so the physical, mental and social are the three that across the board, everybody that I've seen describing health lists these three. And social is how you interact with other human beings. So we all eat socially in one way or another. We all interact socially in one way or another, and that affects our health. Especially this year, we'll all know how it's affected all other areas of our health. So I don't think social needs much more of an explanation. Spiritual, people often think of religion, but it doesn't have to mean religion. The best way that I would describe it is that your being is greater than yourself, greater than your physical body and even your mind. There's something else, something greater than you, greater than your existence right here, right now, with more of a purpose, more of a reason for being, perhaps. It connects in nicely with the other ones, environmental and intellectual as well. So however you interpret spiritual, it does connect with religious beliefs and certain ways of eating in certain religions. It does connect with ethics and morals, like veganism, for instance. So that's how it relates. Occupational and financial. So they are slightly different, but I've put them in the same bracket for now. Occupational is what you do for work and how you relate to what you do for work. And then financial is how much you earn. And so your financial health is like how healthy your finances are, I guess. And that has a knock-on effect to as with all areas of health, they all have a knock-on effect to each other. Because if your financial health suffers, so will your mental, social, physical, because it will create stress. You might not be able to buy the foods that you wish to buy, especially in certain countries around the world. It can actually cost a lot more to eat the nutritious foods, especially with fast food and convenience food. It is very low priced. So that's a factor. And environmental and intellectual, again, they're very different, but I grouped them together because environmental is the impact that it has on the earth and the environment. Again, that can link in with ethics and other reasons for eating, including food wastage and things like that. And intellectual ties in kind of with occupational, depending on what your occupation is, but it's more about you as a being and what you enjoy and your creativity too. So not just why you do something, it's also to do with how you create. Anyway, I'll look into that more and explain it better another day. I could probably do a whole presentation on health in itself. I have also linked some things to the slides. I'm happy to share them afterwards. So here's a video of someone who explains the components of health. So there we go. I'll move on. Does anybody have any questions? No? So what are your goals? Now, I'm going to stop speaking for a minute and I'm going to stop the screen share so I can read the chat. And I'm going to allow you to think. And if you've got somewhere to note it down, it's always best to write it down and make a note. After seeing the different areas of health, knowing that it's not just, I want to lose weight. What are your goals moving into the new year or whenever you watch this? Think about what you want to achieve with your health. So there is no right or wrong answer for this. I'll just see what the answers were to why you eat. We've got nutrition and comfort, feeling good, distraction and enjoyment. Sometimes I eat when I'm hungry. That's a good reason to eat. Nourishment, health and energy. Oh, I love it. Perfect. Mine are definitely enjoyment and energy. I think that's why everything that I do, I tend to quote eating for enjoyment, eating for energy. Back to fitness. That's a good goal. I'm not going to, again, I've realized that I've created this presentation and each part could probably be a presentation in its own right. So with the goals, you can be as specific as you wish to be. So if you can put a time frame onto it, so if you do, again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight. So if that is something that you want to achieve, because that is what we're going to move on to next, because I do know that it is a goal for a lot of people. Health, energy, and fitness. Wonderful. And improving health. So focusing on the physical health side, which often involves the weight loss. People want to lose weight to improve their physical health, also improve their mental health, their self-esteem. Exercise is a fantastic way of boosting that. If you can, although like from the diet, so restricting the calories that you consume, you eat, is the more effective way of losing weight. Combining that with the physical activity, it has sort of like a double effect, although it doesn't burn significantly more calories. So you go for a run, you're not going to burn off a Big Mac meal, for instance. The endorphins that it releases and the way that it increases your motivation for adherence. So this is where it all starts to link in again. To be more mentally fit, which affects physically and financially more fit, and by next year lose 25 more pounds to along with the 40 already lost. Wow, that's incredible. Well done on losing 40 pounds. Do you know how you're going to do that? Do you have you been following a structured plan? You don't have to answer. I'm getting distracted. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I'll just see. Not until now. Oh, wonderful. I'm really pleased that you've managed to do it without, and I'm happy to help you in any way that I can, because, well, this is what I love helping people do. So back to the presentation before I go off on a tangent. This is the first time I've ever done a presentation and had to stick to a set thing. So let's see how it goes. Right. So going to the weight loss. What about the physical? Weight loss and weight gain. A few of the basics, I guess. So if you overconsume or restrict your calories by this number here, so we've got 3,500 calories to gain a pound, or 7,700 calories to gain a kilo of fat. So what would that look like in food? It's about just over 11 mince pies, approximately. It's nearly 100 Quality Street, and it's 20 glasses of Baileys, approximately. Don't quote me on those exactly. And that would increase your fat by 1 pound. But it's not as simple as overeating by that amount on its own, because that would be without including any of your activity. So the average female burns approximately 2,000 calories a day, just living and being and sort of moving around the home without doing exercise. The average male burns about 2,500. And then you've got metabolic complications and hormones and things like that. So when people say that it's not just calories in versus calories out, it's not a case of being that simple, but it is. Because, for instance, if you've got a compromised metabolism, you would still lose fat if you're in a deficit. You would just have to be in a greater deficit. You wouldn't burn as much. So say the average person burns 2,000 calories, you might only burn 1,400. So that extra 600 calories would be, I can't lose weight. There is a balance always. And yeah, I've tagged the British nutrition guidelines in here because that's what I was going to say. So even if you do put on a couple of pounds, because the average Christmas dinner has been worked out to be approximately just over 5,000 calories. So what we consume, I'm guessing, I should have actually looked at the statistic. I'm guessing that that's an American statistic, Western at least. I would quite like to now, just prompted my brain, find out different statistics for different countries. But let's just say you overeat and you put a couple of pounds on. The guidelines for healthy weight loss are 1 to 2 pounds a week. So even if you do put on 1 to 2 pounds, it's not something worth stressing over. The stress that it would cause you is more negative to your overall health than the weight gain, especially if it's something that you're aware that you're going to do. So you know what your goals are. And my example for this is always when I'm training to fight. And so say I've got a fight in February, I still enjoy Christmas and I accept that I'm probably going to put on a little bit of weight because A, I don't train as much, and B, I eat more. So what's that going to result in? But for my social health, because of time with family and enjoyment, mental health, and taking that time out of being in a strict regime, it's fine. I lose it again. I know that I need to eat a little bit less and do a little bit more come the new year. And although I don't advocate that new year, new me, if you know what works for you now and you're worried about that weight gain, you know that you'll be able to come back to what you're already working towards, what you've already achieved. And if you do know you need to make the changes, there's no point in beating yourself up about it, because that will only lead to further feelings of blame, guilt, and shame. So once you've put that weight on, come the new year, you'll say, oh, it's because of Christmas. Oh, it's because of all the food in the house. And you'll feel really guilty about the foods that you eat. And then you'll feel that shame about yourself, feeling that you're not good enough. And that's worse than eating the food. So that's where the eating for enjoyment comes in. But you can also still practice moderation. I'm not saying go out there, eat all the food and put on all the weight. You can make an educated, you don't have to work out your calories to the number, but you can roughly know if you're overeating or not. And if it's an emotional issue, it is deeper, but hypnotherapy is fantastic for that, amongst other approaches. I'm not here to describe that right now. So what I just briefly mentioned, moving on. So what about the blame, guilt, or shame? Do you know the difference between guilt and shame? So I'm going to stop sharing for a second and see in the comments again if anybody's got any questions. Let me see what people have said. So if anybody's got any idea of the difference, especially, so blame, I added it in because a lot of people blame the time of year. They sit in this mindset that it's Christmas, I'm going to put on weight, my family buy the food, or whatever their blame might be, feeling like it's out of their control almost, it's part of their circumstance. Like, actually, you do need to take responsibility for what you consume. There's no point in blaming other people. There's no point in blaming the circumstance. It is empowering to know that you are in control of your own decisions, even if you feel like everyone else is deciding for you. But guilt and shame, I find that people don't always understand the difference between the two, but there is a big difference. So let me just see the comments. I'd like to find more satiating and nourishing meals that leave me feeling full and not hungry in the middle of the night every day. That would be a case of eating more in the day. So as that sounds like a really simple answer, but I can talk on a one-to-one with you. It would be a case of either increasing the size of the meals that you currently eat or increasing the frequency of the meals that you currently eat. Because like with any habit, there's no point in just trying over a short period of time. So like crash dieting, but the opposite, it will be a long-term strategy of changing the habits. And listening to your body as well. You probably are in a situation throughout the day where you're ignoring it, you're distracting it, there probably are signals there. It's just that when it comes to being in bed at night, you go, I can feel the physiological symptoms that I'm hungry now. And yeah, so it would just be retraining your habits. Depending on age, is that referring to the calories? That would be, so your metabolism will slow down slightly with age, but you can also increase your metabolism through physical activity, through increasing muscle mass. So with resistance training, for instance, increasing your muscle mass, increasing the amount of protein that you consume to build that. I'm going off on a different topic now, but age is another limiting belief. It doesn't mean that you will put weight on because your metabolism might physiologically slow down. it means that you may have to change the balance slightly with regards to how much physical activity you have to do to build the muscle mass, for instance, because that's another myth, that as people get old, they can't improve their body composition. It gets more difficult, but it is possible. Same with weight loss. So to the guilt and the shame, guilt is social, shame is individual. The way that I have learned from Brene Brown is that guilt is I did a bad thing, and shame is I am bad. And I would actually say that shame, we feel shame on an individual level, but it's a social problem. It's a really quite a serious social problem. Right, so I'll go back to my notes quickly. I say notes, it doesn't really say anything on there, does it? I've actually got a few notes written. I've got a quote because I was reading up on it earlier, and I have actually linked a study here about shame resilience. So I'm not going to go into it now because it's too long and I don't know it well enough. But shame resilience is what you can do to build up your ability to cope with shame, because we all feel it. And I was reading about how we're in an epidemic of shame. It's like a silent, unknown epidemic. And if I read out how she describes it, because I haven't memorized it, shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing we are flawed and therefore unworthy of acceptance and belonging. So, and anybody who has empathy has felt shame. It makes you feel very isolated. So the antidote for shame is empathy. So empathy is like a double-edged sword. If the more empathetic you are, the more that you feel empathy, the more likely you are to also feel shame, perhaps. But so the way to counteract it, as she advised, and as I advise, because I agree with it, is to speak out about it. So shame cannot exist when it's spoken. So once you acknowledge it, and this is where sharing stories comes in, and going off on another tangent, but creating, so the books I've read, she's all about creating courage, compassion, and connection. So by having the courage to speak out about what you're suffering with, so the shame, and then we can connect through the compassion that we feel for other human beings. So relating this back to the food, it's very common within society. So it's quoted a lot, fat shaming, fat phobia, because it is still almost idolized, that being young, fit, skinny, slim, strong, muscular, depending on if you're female or male, it is still in all advertising. There are movements aiming to change it, but it's still there. And so if you have feelings of perfectionism, if you have feelings of not feeling good enough, so it comes back to practicing self-compassion and accepting yourself as you are, knowing that you are enough. Again, relating it back to the different areas of health, you're not just your physical body. So even if you put weight on, which you would be inclined to feel shame about, that isn't who you are, and that isn't to be negatively judged. It is something that you can choose to change, and that's okay too. But it's empowering to know that whichever one you choose, that's okay. You can make that decision, that conscious decision as a human being, to decide, do I want to eat less food and lose weight, perhaps to improve my physical health, especially if you are worried about certain diseases, if you are overweight or obese, perhaps that might be a sensible decision to make, but it is your decision to make. If you're happy with your lifestyle and you can accept yourself, then that's okay. It's nobody's right to tell you that you must lose weight to conform. I hope that made sense to everybody. So there we go. And let's move on to the next one. So how do you avoid overindulgence? So once you've accepted who you are at this moment in time, what your goals are, so identify what your goals are and realize that you might want to achieve them, You might want to completely avoid overindulgence and stick strictly to your goals. Again, that's okay. Whatever your choice is right now is okay. But if you're in a situation where you're thinking, well, what can I do? I do want to indulge, but I don't want to put on half a stone or 5 kilos or whatever it might be. Bearing in mind, those extreme weight gains often do include water weight. So it's quite difficult to put on huge amounts of weight in a short period of time. And the festive period is a short period of time. When people go on holiday, it's a short period of time. Yes, you may gain fat, but it probably won't be what the scales say. Once you go back to your regular eating patterns, your body will regulate. So, but the few things that I would recommend from experience and from speaking to many people about this are perhaps put in some form of fasting. So if you know that you're going to, well, we're not this year really going out, well, depending on what country you're in. Where I am, we can't go out. We're in tier 4 lockdown right now. But if you're going out to Christmas parties, say, or you know that on the weekend you get a takeaway, you know that you'll be drinking more Baileys on a certain night, then perhaps you want to put a measure in place where you eat less throughout that day, or do a 24-hour fast the day before, because that helps with that calorie equation. Fasting has its own health benefits and it's its own subject. I am definitely not an expert on fasting. I know in the Creating the Body Health and Happiness group, there has been quite a lot on it recently. So that's a topic in its own right. Feel free to explore it as you wish. It's not something I overly promote personally. It's a tool that people can use to help them achieve their goals. So far I've only worked on a one-to-one basis for nutrition, and it generally doesn't work with most people depending on their lifestyles, but it can be effective, especially if you have certain goals that you really want to limit the overconsumption, because you don't really miss the other meals. You might feel a little bit hungry. And then you do also have to make sure that you get your nutrition in. So if you are restricting your eating window, keep hydrated, definitely. Just thinking of the most important things now if you're going to fast. Keep hydrated, and then do try to eat the nutritious foods when you do eat. So not just fast all day and then only drink Baileys and eat mince pies. That's not the healthiest approach. Do try to get vegetables and fruits and lean protein sources in too, which luckily Christmas dinner contains all of. Everybody says about Christmas being unhealthy. It really doesn't have to be. You don't have to buy and eat hundreds of tubs of Quality Street. You don't have to eat pudding every day. I eat more pudding over Christmas, but that's my choice. And keeping active. So just because you might be off work, you might be taking time out, the gyms might be shut, you might have a change in your routine, that doesn't mean you can't keep active. It doesn't have to be exercise. It doesn't have to feel like a chore or something that you need to be doing to burn calories. But by going for a walk, just getting out of the house and breaking up that monotony of the being at home and eating all day every day, it helps. And or find something you enjoy. So if you've got something that you enjoy, don't feel like you have to stop it completely. So every year I stop my intense kickboxing training, but I still do a couple of sessions. More fun, more casual. I stop the hill sprinting and the whatever I do, depending on the year, depending on fights. But just because it's Christmas, just because it's the festive season, it's New Year, doesn't mean you have to give it up completely and just binge Netflix, because that doesn't do anything to your health. And as I said earlier, especially if you've got a routine which works for you, if you find exercise improves your mental health as well as your physical, then actually it can be quite detrimental to take it away. I've felt that myself too, because you feel like, oh, I need to stop doing it, I need to have a break. And although that's important, it's all about the balance. And if you've got a balance in your life that works, then stick to that to the best of your ability. It might change slightly, and that's okay, but know that you're in control of taking the action that works for you. And then mindfulness. So there's many ways of practicing mindfulness, especially around eating. And it comes back to that drawing your attention inwards, maybe pausing before you eat something and asking yourself, do I want to eat this now? Because a lot of overeating, overindulgence is mindless. It's habitual. There's a tub of chocolates there. I walked into the gym the other day, and on the desk I had to walk past the Quality Street to get to the till to do what I was doing, and I was like, oh, Quality Street, mindless eating, because it's there. The rest of the year it doesn't sit there, so I don't mindlessly eat it. Had I stopped and gone, take a nice deep breath in, looked at it and thought, do I really want this right now? I probably would have said no. So that can be applied across in a number of ways. And again, I've tagged Lori Hammond's presentation here because she talks about the 4 Bs, and she talks about them a lot better than I can do. I'm just going to let someone in. They've missed nearly the whole thing, but they can do the hypnosis, I guess. And they can hear about Lori Hammond's 4 Bs. I messaged her today though, and she said the 4th B actually ends up confusing people sometimes. So that's why I said the 3/4 Bs. Let me just say hello to Anne. Hey, Anne. I think she's there. And especially if we find ourselves, hello, you've missed most of the presentation, but not the hypnosis. So, and I'll carry on with just this last bit of how you can take control of perhaps emotional, undesired eating by practicing mindfulness. And so directly speaking about Lori Hammond's approach now, and because I agree with it, she's very, very good at what she does. And if you are wanting to lose weight, I would recommend that you get involved with her, myself or her. So yeah, her 4 Bs are breath, body language, and belief. And the 4th one is blessing. So there's so many breathing exercises out there. Whatever breathing exercise works for you, before you eat something, do that. That would be my number 1, take that breath. So I like the 7-11, so where you breathe in for 7, fully inhaling, hold it for a split second at the top, and then exhale slower than you inhaled, so for the count of 11. Some people do box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And one that Lori likes is the physiological sigh, where you sniff in twice, so like, and then, and that's physiologically really useful if you're in a moment of stress. So if you know that an emotion causes you to eat and you want to go and eat that whole dessert because someone upset you or you're angry, a couple of these breaths help regulate it psychologically and physiologically. So that's the first one, and my most important one, I would say. So if you only do one of the Bs, that's the B to do. Then body language. So when we're in a negative emotion and we hunch over and we're in a bad day and we don't feel like doing anything, if we can sit up straight, roll our shoulders back, and if you can combine this with the breathing, stand up straight, visualize yourself towards your goal. That ties in with the 3rd B, the belief that you can do it. So again, before you open that fridge, before you open that box of biscuits or eat all that cheese, take that breath, think about your body language, change your posture, and start changing your belief. So reframing those beliefs that you have no control. So if you identify as someone who is an emotional eater, change it to I am in control of my emotions. Or if you think that being on a diet is hard work and that you will be deprived, or whatever your belief is about this, reframe it, change it to how much fun can I have creating foods that nourish my body and that I can enjoy? Because it is possible to create enjoyable food that also helps you adhere to weight loss goals, for instance, improving health goals, whatever the goal may be, if you can reframe that belief. So you're standing up tall, you're feeling confident, or whatever you want to feel at that moment in time, embodying who you want to become towards your goals. You're focusing on your breathing, which draws the attention away from that need to eat in that moment, that impulse, and you're changing your beliefs. And then the fourth one was blessing. So that's where you practice blessing towards your food. So if you're going to eat it, you practice a blessing towards it. Also, you can practice a blessing towards yourself and towards other people. And this connects in with the spirituality and is less something that I know lots about. And as she said, it's the one that confuses the most people. So don't worry too much about that. But if you feel like blessing your food, then by all means, please do, because it won't do any harm. If anybody has any questions, please do ask them, because that is pretty much everything. The last thing that I was going to say is I've just got a slide about my community. So if you do want to join me, I've got it's about kickboxing as well, because that is what I do. I'm a kickboxing coach as well as nutritionist, hypnotherapist, blah, blah, blah. I don't like to identify myself as one thing. I just love doing what I do, helping people, helping you. So yeah, and I run weekly kickboxing classes with workout libraries, but alongside that we have a book club, so it's all about personal development. And although health and well-being is its own category outside of what most people think of as personal development, I think developing ourselves and our health is definitely personal development. And I run monthly group sessions, masterclasses, and I'm there to help everybody. So there we go, just in case. But I'm not going anywhere. Feel free to reach out to me whenever you wish. There we go. So any questions? Lots of info, thank you. Yes, it's online. So it's all through Zoom. So the class is actually at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. That's what I was doing before this. And then I upload them into a library so everybody can catch up. I haven't quite worked out the time zones yet. I'm thinking maybe I'll add in a second one that's like my morning and perhaps other times, or afternoon, or because at the moment it's the one time. But thank you for listening. If you've got any questions, there's quite a lot there to go through. I hope it all made sense. And in a sec we'll do a hypnosis. Just going to grab myself some tea quickly. Grab yourself a drink if you need one. I will be back in 30 seconds. I think that was less than 30 seconds. But I'm back. So now I'm going to think about what am I actually going to do for the hypnosis. Breathe. Thank you, Doreen. Canada is 5 hours behind Britain. I think it depends on where you are in Canada as well. Areas of Canada are 8 hours behind Britain. So we've got over to the west, 5 to 8 hours one way. Rishabh's in India, he's 5.5 hours the other way. So it's sort of, and then we've got Australia and New Zealand, who they're almost the opposite time of day. So there is no one right answer, but who knows? I'll keep going. Maybe one day I'll have a team. Not even maybe one day. One day I will have a team and we can go, right, let's just provide it for the whole world. But at the moment, it's just me. So, right. Let's get started with the hypnosis, I guess. I'm just going to just take a moment. I'm going to, again, copying Lori. I didn't create this, but if we all just place our hands on our heart and feel it beating, Take a nice deep breath in. And feel free to take a look at the screen or picture anybody's face that you wish to picture. Somebody who's here with you now, across the world, because we are here together. And just feel how that feels to be connected. We all have our own individual goals that we're working towards. And we do not need to know what anybody else is doing, why anybody else is here, what their reasons are. We're going to take that time now to focus in on you. So feel your heart beating and allow yourself to focus in on how incredible you are. And then once you prioritize yourself, your own health and well-being, you can focus that, you can increase that, and you can send it out to the world. So we can send it out to each other now by feeling it. We have to feel it ourselves first, though, relating back to the empathy. If we can feel that love for ourselves and know that we deserve to be happy, healthy, feeling that enjoyment and that energy, then we can feel it together, connected. So I'll just allow you to relax your hands down now and sit comfortably wherever you are. And because it's a group session and there's still part of me that's like, oh, what issue do I target with a group? We're going to go on self-compassion and overcoming that perfectionism, but whatever that means to you, because it is to help us towards our goals. So whatever your goal is, when I ask you to imagine something, just do your best to imagine yourself there, achieving it, feeling it, seeing it. You don't have to have the perfect picture. You don't have to be highly visual. Just whatever is right for you, know that that's okay. And let's begin. So if you make sure you're sitting comfortably and take a nice deep breath in. And then as you breathe out, feel that relaxation going through your body and allow your eyes to close only as quickly as you're willing to enter the most wonderful state of hypnosis, your state of hypnosis. Don't fight it, just allow it. Focus on the breath. Notice the room around you, the temperature of the air, the sounds in the background that you may have not noticed before, and allow your mind to wander. Allow it to drift in and out of consciousness. Throughout this session, allow yourself to be guided by the sound of my voice, but know that you do not need to pay attention to everything that I say. Everything will go deeply into your subconscious mind, and you will take away anything that you need to from this. Feel now how wonderful it feels to be here together, connected, working towards our goals, appreciating ourselves as who we are here today, and intensify that feeling now, taking it deeper, allowing it to take you down into your own hypnosis. Increase it 10 times deeper, 20 times deeper, even 100 times deeper. And notice how wonderful it feels now, this time for you, your health, your well-being, the love that you feel for yourself. And notice the love that you feel for those dearest to you, and the love that they feel for you in return. Notice where you feel that and increase that feeling now. And know that you have that within you always, that feeling. So whenever you're feeling anything negative, any guilt, any shame, know that that is just a part of you. And that part doesn't need to be operating. It doesn't need to be running the decisions that you make on a daily basis. It's a subconscious part of you, of which there are many more positive ones, to allow you to live your life free from those negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, free to move forwards towards your goals, your dreams, and your desires. And I'd like to tell you a story, because that voice, that negative voice, I hope you all know the story of Cinderella and her evil stepmother. If you don't, Cinderella was pure and good. She was innocent, and she grew up with that voice of her evil stepmother and her twin stepsisters. And they were ugly on the inside and the out. And they would tell Cinderella how worthless she is, day in, day out. And they would make her feel those feelings of doubt about herself. And she would fight those feelings. She would know deep inside. But sometimes it was difficult to fight on a daily basis, every morning, every afternoon, every evening, as hard as she would try to just be good, just be true, they would tell her otherwise. And that has an effect on her, a negative effect. And she started to think, maybe there is something wrong with me, even though she knew at a deep level there was not. But she would see the good in everyone too. So she would try to find the good in the evil stepmother, the ugly stepsisters, because she believed that they were part of her family. She believed that they were part of her life, but they didn't have to be, until one day the fairy godmother came along with the magic, with the wonder and the wishes to allow Cinderella the freedom that she desired, to take her to the ball, to turn her pumpkin into a carriage. If anything is possible for Cinderella, it's possible for you too. You just need to find that fairy godmother, the one who allows you to believe your desires, to take you to your ball, your freedom, to find your Prince Charming if you wish. You do not need a Prince Charming, but it's up to you to decide where you're going, what ball you're going to in your carriage, what dress you're wearing, suit you're wearing. Who knows? It's up to you to decide. And know that you are capable of changing that voice inside your head. Don't choose to live with the wicked stepmother. Don't choose to be with the ugly stepsisters. Allow your fairy godmother to guide you. And know that life isn't perfect. So when you find that Prince Charming, when you get to that ball and wherever you want to go, achieving that goal, when the clock strikes midnight, sometimes things go wrong. And as you leave and as you flee your desires in a panic, you lose a glass slipper. You get home and you feel like a failure, until one day you realize that that glass slipper only fits your foot. Your hopes, your dreams, and your desires are like that glass slipper. Only you can know what your hopes, your dreams, and your desires are and work towards them. And only you can wear that shoe. And it will come back to you when the time is right, and it will fit on your foot as long as you keep believing the positive voice is true. I'm just going to allow you a moment to think about that story and see yourself as you wish to be, your version of that ball. And when you hear those voices inside your head, the negative ones, turn them into the ugliest of stepsisters. Turn them into that wicked stepmother. Know that they are not your voice. Know that they are just a voice inside your head, and you have the capability, you have the power to change that. So take the ugly words and change them into beauty. Change them into the words that your fairy godmother would say, because I grew up wishing for a fairy godmother. I now know we all have one. It's the positive voice inside our head. We can create our own magic. We do not need a fairy godmother physically. We have the ability inside our own mind. So whenever you're feeling doubt or fear, guilt or shame, imagine what your fairy godmother would say and allow yourself to intensify that. Take it deeply inside of you and feel it. Feel that love. Feel the love of those closest to you. See their faces now and increase that feeling from within. And allow yourself to take a moment to go to anywhere that you wish to go right now. A mystical place, a magical place, a place where you can make positive, perfect lifestyle changes, any changes that you wish to make. And I cannot see what you can see. I cannot feel what you can feel. But I want you to allow yourself the time to focus on how it feels to be there, perhaps out in nature, wherever you desire to be, feeling free. And know that wherever you are right now, we can meet each other there in our imaginations, free from any of those limitations, because this is where we desire to be, uniquely, individually, but connected together right now. And everything that we do from this moment onwards is perfectly you. Everything you do is enough. Enjoy this feeling, enjoy this place that's perfectly for you. And I'd like you to imagine now, wherever you are, that there's a mirror or perhaps a lake where you can see yourself, your reflection, your being, perhaps even a photograph framed in the house of a loved one. And look at yourself and notice the beauty inside and out. Notice what others see about you and notice how that feels without the inner critic. Notice how you can change your view of yourself and others and the world around you. Because when you see the beauty within yourself, others will see it too. Others may see the beauty within you beyond your capability, but you can increase that capability now by looking at yourself deeply and true. And I'd like you to imagine, wherever you are now, that the spirit of yourself, your essence, your inner being, is drifting up above your physical body, leaving it down below, up higher and higher towards the clouds, looking down at the fields, the forests, the sea, as you float up freely, higher and higher. And look down at the earth below. Notice how peaceful it is up above. And notice an archery target. And in that archery target is a bullseye. And in that bullseye, I'd like you to now place any useless and unnecessary self-doubt that you may have towards achieving your goals that you have identified. Any of those useless and unnecessary fears and anxieties, emotional or physical pain that you have been experiencing. Put it all in that bullseye now. It is no longer yours to carry with you. And as you place it in the center of that target, watch it glow brighter. Watch it grow bigger, expanding. I don't know how many useless and unnecessary negative feelings, voices inside your head, anxiety or pain you've got, but get rid of it all now. It's no longer yours. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to be brave and shoot you through that bullseye with the sound whoosh. And you may experience those feelings just for a split second. So notice how free it feels where you are. Notice how the feelings have gone, and be brave. Ready? And whoosh, through to the other side, feeling blissful, wonderful, peaceful, and feeling that love that you've got within you. That love, see the faces of those you love. See their eyes, their smiles. Allow them to hug you with a loving embrace from inside and out. And notice how all of that doubt has gone. Notice how the archery target has shattered into 1,000 glimmering pieces, and collect them up inside a snow globe, like the ones with all the glitter. And notice that inside your life, all of those pieces are allowed to settle at any moment in time. And if you feel stress or anxiety or pain, your snow globe can get shaken up, but you can allow it to settle again, completely free, moving forwards from any of that useless, unnecessary anxiety, self-doubt, guilt, or shame. And notice how calming it feels to watch the glitter settle. And you have that within you always. Enjoy it. Use it freely. Use it to achieve your heart's desires. And finally, I'd like to ask you to imagine that you're on a cliff, a big cliff, a scary cliff. You are safe, but you can feel that fear right now. Imagine how it would feel to be there, looking over the edge at the waves crashing below. Smell the salty sea air. Hear the birds above you. And feel how that fear would feel. But know that within you, you have wings, wonderful wings. You just have to jump off that cliff to allow them to develop, to allow you to fly to freedom. So with your goals in mind and the things that you would like to achieve, I'm going to ask you to be brave, and I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to ask you to jump off that cliff. I'd like you to feel that fear for that split second, as if you were jumping off a physical cliff. And know that you will experience the most profound feeling of freedom, positivity, and peace. Ready? 1, feeling that fear. 2, embracing it from within. And 3, jump. And whoosh. Notice how free you feel up there, high up in the sky, above the sea. Notice where you're going and look at your wings. Look at how beautiful they are, whatever they look like. They're unique to you. They're always within you. You just have to be brave and make that jump to allow yourself to feel this freedom now. Feel how it feels, weightless, limitless, able to fly to your very own freedom. Whatever that may mean to you, know that your wings are taking you there as quick as you desire to go there, or as slow, I do not know. And it can take you wherever you wish to be, perhaps an island of paradise, or perhaps you want to continue flying forevermore. Who knows? Your subconscious mind knows, and it makes the most wonderful decisions for you. Just allow it to keep guiding you there, to keep flying you towards your very own freedom. And take the time now to bring that within, and know that you might not always be able to see your wings. You might not always need to be jumping off cliffs. That's okay. It's okay to spend time at home. It's okay to spend time grounded in the forest or wherever you wish to be. even high up the mountain, appreciating the view below, but knowing that you don't always have to jump. But when you wish to, you know that you have the ability. You know that you have those wings within you to fly yourself to freedom. And allow yourself now to gently come back to where you are in your physical being and notice yourself. Notice the changes that have been made. Notice how calm you now look, free from those fears, free from that doubt, confident in your ability, confident that you have that freedom, confident that you are enough exactly as you are now. And I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and on 5 your eyes will open and you will feel fantastic. So 1, becoming gradually consciously aware. 2, taking a nice deep breath in. 3, intensifying any feelings you want to bring back with you. 4, coming back to the room. And 5, eyes open, feeling fantastic. Right, I'm going to stop the recording, I think. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that.